Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hope you guys are enjoying your evening so far and have had a great start to your work week and a great Tuesday out there. In this video, this evening's video, we're going to really discuss and try to break down the next 48 hours, as I really think there could be some nasty weather across some of the same areas that were hit yesterday pretty good. Talking about areas of Texas and Oklahoma, not really so much Kansas, but Oklahoma and areas of Texas tomorrow will be under the gun. And then we're going to talk about Thursday too. Areas like Arkansas and pieces of surrounding states are going to be under the gun for some severe weather. Really worried about a big time squall line for Thursday. So we're going to talk about that. We're also towards the tail end of the video, a little bit different. Haven't talked tropics in a while, but there is a chance that piece of energy, the same piece of energy that is actually going to cause a severe weather over the next 48 hours, has a chance to kind of dwindle across the eastern U.S. and make its way into the Atlantic Ocean and potentially, it's all potentially, turn into some kind of subtropical piece of energy. Whether it becomes Alex, subtropical storm Alex, we have no idea. All we do know is the GFS and the European are pretty consistent, at least on the operational models, that we're kind of eyeballing something, some kind of spin out there that can potentially get blocked down. And then maybe late next week, talking about past 7 days out, could potentially be a player in the weather somewhere along the southeast. But we'll talk about that and what we know here towards the end of the video. So if you guys have not subscribed, definitely consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. It goes a long way. I appreciate the support. I've had a nice little spike in growth over the last 2 days, so it's been really awesome to see. So welcome any new people viewing my channel. The morning videos have been doing very well, better than the evening videos, which has been really a switch up over the last few weeks. So it's awesome that people tune in the mornings. I really appreciate you guys. And most importantly, if you guys got anything I can pray about, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it. More importantly, it gives a lot of other people an opportunity to pray over your prayer requests too. So definitely take advantage of that, especially in the times that we're in. People have anxiety about a lot of things and are going through things, so let's all look out for one another here. So let's get rolling. So tomorrow we have an enhanced risk for this area in orange. We've been talking, at this point, if you've been consistently watching my videos, you know all about the threat levels. You have a general thunderstorm risk, which is the light green, a marginal risk, a level 1 out of 5, which is the dark green, slight risk, which is the yellow you see on your screen, orange, enhanced, red, moderate, and then that purple, which is the high risk. We have not seen that yet this year. But you have an enhanced risk for severe storms tomorrow. All threats are on the table. This is going to be a little bit of a different setup than what we saw in yesterday's enhanced risk. And I'm going to talk about why here in a second. But just know we got a big time area to watch. Will this trend into a moderate by the time we get into tomorrow morning? Just not quite sure. But what we do know is we have a 10% risk in this region of a tornado in any given point, in 25 miles in any given point in this yellow area. Then you got the 5% risk surrounding it. Dallas-Fort Worth, you guys are really on the southeast far fringe, so I think y'all will be okay, but y'all will likely see some kind of nasty weather late tomorrow. But how bad will it be? You know, I think the worst will be just north and northwest of you guys. But 10% risk, then you also have that hatch region, which means there's also a 10% region risk, and basically that same 10% risk, except it stops and cuts off right around Oklahoma and this little small smidget of an area right here. Got a 10% risk also in the hatch region, which is that black outline with dashes going in between it of a stronger tornado, which is an EF2 or higher. Wind threat, not too substantial. It's really not the biggest deal tomorrow, but the hail threat is going to be substantial, especially where any kind of individual supercells get going. Large hail will be an issue with this for sure. And then we move into tomorrow. Right now, you don't have a hatch risk for significant severe weather, but you do have an enhanced risk in this very large area. What I'm really worried about with this is not necessarily several tornadoes, but a squall line, a linear type setup, a nasty squall line that could potentially, especially move through central to southern Arkansas and northern Louisiana for you folks for Thursday. So I'm worried about this, and we'll talk a little bit about that also. But this is more so for damaging winds, I would bet. I bet it'll be a damaging wind-driven enhanced risk, but we'll see how that goes. And that's kind of what they're talking about in the discussion. So let's talk about both days and a more broad outlook here. So we're going to go through both days, basically on this latest long-range H-triple model that came out about 3 or 4 hours ago. And here we go. We start this off around... this will probably be about 1-2 p.m. And, let's actually back it up to about the morning hours. We have lingering convection, meaning rain showers already in Kansas, a little bit of some showers in Oklahoma and areas of Texas. And then this continues to kind of intensify, but then an open, warm sector of moist air really begins to rapidly build into this region. The atmosphere destabilizes, and quickly you'll have an opportunity, I think, in the late afternoon to early evening hours in this portion of southwest Oklahoma and this portion of Texas to get an individual supercell or two, and you could get one dominant cell right here that really becomes a big risk for a tornado. What I'm trying to say is you could have one giant supercell in this region in here. We kind of have to watch this region where you kind of have the beginning of a 10% risk. But watch for these little individual cells too. You see this little hook right here, but you continue to move this forward. I really think this congeals very quickly into a messy, linear type look where you have just kind of a Boeing segment of kind of a line of storms that develops here with damaging winds quickly becoming the major threat here as you get into about 9-10 p.m. in the middle of Oklahoma. This quickly begins to accelerate eastward into the late overnight hours is what I'm trying to say. Tomorrow night, this becomes bowed out. Squall line begins to enter northern and central Arkansas 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Quickly weakens, but then another piece of energy gets re-energized right here. And this entire atmosphere right here just south and southeast of this, even though it's in the morning hours, you look here, you look at 7 a.m. Eastern time, so this would be 6 a.m. out here in Arkansas, Louisiana, and East Texas time. This quickly takes advantage of a ripe atmosphere for severe weather, and this materializes into a nasty line of storms, I think, by about midday, and then really starts to slam areas of central and southern Arkansas. So Arkansas, you will be under the gun, I really think, overnight tomorrow night. And then the southern portions of the state, including northern Louisiana, really gets hit tomorrow afternoon. This continues, and this is as far out as it goes for Thursday, but this is for about 1 p.m. Central Time, and you have just a long line of storms, hundreds of miles long, extending all the way from south central Texas all the way up through Arkansas, knocking on the door of Memphis and all areas of Mississippi as you get later into the afternoon hours for your Thursday. This will be a nasty line of storms, damaging winds. But there will also be a tornado threat with this too, as you will have plenty of other dynamics in place that promotes a tornadic atmosphere. But I think the main driven thing here is going to be a wind-driven, damaging wind threat for Thursday for Arkansas. So let's keep going here and let's kind of talk about the dynamics, kind of for both days, but really focusing on tomorrow. You'll notice today across Oklahoma, Texas, the same areas that are going to be under the gun tomorrow and the same areas that were under the gun yesterday. It was nice. It went back to a spring day. You know, it felt pleasant out there. Dew points were in the 40s, 50s, whatever. And it just felt much better out there as you lost that humidity and you had much more stable air. But quickly, overnight tonight, you'll notice you'll go to bed and it feels pretty good in Oklahoma. Dew points are crisp. But by the time you're waking up tomorrow, it'll still be pretty crisp in most areas, but the moisture will quickly surge northward south of a warm front that will build all the way up into Oklahoma. The big question is, how far north will this warm front get before the cold front ushers in and brings in much more stable air? That is a big question here, you know, as it was not poorly gauged yesterday, but the front moved in much quicker than what a lot of models anticipated it to, which actually dampened the severe weather threat because more stable air was able to quickly move into Oklahoma yesterday to really tamper the severe weather threat so much. But as this warm front surges northward, and sorry guys, I just bleached my bathroom here right beside me, and it's definitely choking me out a little bit, the bleach is. But I'll try not to pass out here for you guys. But as this warm front surges north ahead of this ushering cold front from the west, moist air will quickly build into this region. But how far north will it build? Pretty much however far north it builds, the severe weather threat comes with it. But it looks like there'll be a decently tight boundary between somewhat moist air and very moist air, meaning dew points well into the upper 60s into this region. I think they'll verify higher. This is a very moist atmosphere. And we stop at around 6, 7, 8 p.m. Dew points are well into the 70s, and that is danger zone for severe weather in regards to surface moisture. That is really when you need to watch out here. And then obviously, along the warm front, you're going to have an elevated area of a spin where you basically have two different wind directions going two different ways in this area, creating more of a spin in the atmosphere to spin up these storms. So watch out right in this area. That's why you got the 10% region in this area right into here. especially, right up to that triple point, to that warm front. Not so much the triple point, but, up to the warm front, you're going to have storms spinning, a lot of low-level moisture in this area. And then you keep this going, and then the moist sector, there's plenty of moist air down here as this squall line begins to sag south, and then we're getting into Thursday morning. Plenty of moisture down here ahead of this line. Here comes the line right here, and you just got that deep Gulf moisture in this region. You definitely, that's a dynamic that, you're not going to have to worry about for severe weather down here. It's going to be here. We're starting to get to that time of the year where we get into May, and that it just stays humid in the south. We're starting to get closer and closer to that time of the year where it's just consistently humid. But in response to all this high-level moisture at the surface, you have, in these higher dew points, you have a lot of CAPE, storm juice, storm energy for these storms to tap into. Big time CAPE readings in this area. There will be a cap down here somewhat, but I tell you what, there'll be plenty of juice to the atmosphere for these storms to feed off of, all the way up to the warm front, which you see has a tight gradient to where you have stable air with no CAPE and then a ton right here. And you will have a spin going on right here. Watch out, right in this region. You really need to watch out. Southern Oklahoma, southwest Oklahoma, and this portion of northern Texas right here. Watch out as the CAPE maximizes, the low-level jet gets cranked up in this region. And speaking of low-level jet, here it is. It really intensifies, I think. And you don't have a ton of low-level spin right here. Not spin, but low-level winds aloft. But you have enough, a 30 to 40 knot low-level jet pushing into the afternoon. But it really begins to amplify here as this trailing piece of energy becomes kind of a line of convection here. But, it really gets amplified here. So I really think that the tornado threat will last overnight. Not overnight, but I think that the cluster of storms that do form in Oklahoma, I really do think they'll have a chance to continue as the sun goes down in this region right here. But we'll take a little bit closer look at Oklahoma and areas of Texas as this unfolds. And here you go. You're getting it tomorrow afternoon. Here's that isolated big-time storm right here in this area. And watch out all these little small towns in southwest Oklahoma and this portion of Texas right here, well southeast of Amarillo right here. I don't want to say Amarillo. I think someone said that is not the correct way to say it for you local people. So I think it's Amarillo. So hopefully I said it right. But watch out this big time cell. This could be a dangerous cell, but quickly, as you're getting into about 6, 7, 8 p.m., you watch for all these cells right here. Watch out Oklahoma City, points south and southwest especially. These little clusters of storms, even though they're kind of semi-discrete, if any of them get somewhat discrete, big time tornado threat. A lot of dynamics are maxed out in this region. And then I think quickly this turns into a congealed line of storms and begins to really slam. I think flooding could be a risk in Oklahoma City tomorrow night. I really think it will as the sun goes down, as y'all begin to get training of storms, and then this evolves into a nasty squall line and works its way. Even areas of southwest Missouri could get into this, but I really think, about midnight, this is a powerful line of storms moving into Arkansas. This area has just gotten hit time after time over the last several days of severe weather and will continue to do so overnight tomorrow. And then more moisture forms over Oklahoma City. I really think flooding is going to be a risk in Oklahoma City tomorrow. Mark my word. You don't have to mark my words. I'll eat crow if it doesn't. But be aware tomorrow in Oklahoma City as kind of a threat that a lot of people aren't talking about for flooding. I really think there'll be some training of storms. Certain areas, maybe not necessarily Oklahoma City, but around Oklahoma City could see a lot of rain tomorrow potentially based off the HRRR model. But as this keeps going, this will continue to kind of jive a piece of energy right here southeast, and this turns into a nasty line of storms, and we'll go on and switch to the Arkansas region right here. And here it is. This begins to take advantage of atmosphere that's destabilizing right down here, stable air up here, and this will take advantage of the atmosphere in southern areas of Arkansas and then northern areas of Louisiana. And I really think a squall line becomes a big deal in this region, damaging winds. But we'll see. We'll know more about this threat as we're waking up tomorrow, and I can give you a quick update. And obviously, I'll talk about what's going to happen tomorrow. But as far as this subtropical piece of energy that could potentially form off the eastern U.S., moving forward, this same piece of energy that's going to cause all the severe weather over the next 48 hours will slowly bring a lot of moisture to the Ohio Valley, probably the early part of the weekend. And then as you're getting into Saturday morning, give or take a time frame, it gets off the coast of the Delmarva area, Virginia, somewhere. And this low pressure kind of meanders wherever it's going to be. But either way, this piece of energy gets off the coast of the eastern U.S. around Saturday or Sunday or Monday. What happens after this is you have high pressure up here blocking, a blocking pattern, which is something you do not want to see in hurricane season, or you're going to get tropical systems that plow into the Gulf of Mexico or along the eastern U.S. But anyways, let's not talk about too much on that. This low pressure kind of gets, hung up over the Gulf Stream where there's some warmer surface waters, and it just kind of gets lost out there. Not necessarily lost, but the steering currents are pushing it down when it's trying to probably go north. And then you get into Monday, get into Tuesday, and this continues to just kind of move around, and eventually it gets pushed steering currents wise back into the southeast, whether that's Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, and then you get into the later part of next week, and then it might bring some tropical moisture into Florida, Georgia, maybe the Carolinas. It's just something we have to watch. Does it really intensify? I'm not sure. But the Euro shows the same thing. Shows that piece of energy getting out there. Watch this low pressure. And then it doesn't dissipate fully. It reforms again. And we have to watch it throw some moisture back into the southeast. So I'll have to see how that happens. It's very interesting. We're getting to that time of the year. A lot of times in May, we get what we call homegrown activity or formation, where a lot of times you can get an upper level low or a stalled cold front. And sometimes the leftover energy, to make a long story short, gets over the open waters of the Gulf of Mexico, especially. It likes to happen. And then sometimes areas off into the western Atlantic Ocean, the East Coast. And sometimes they can form a tropical or subtropical system. It happens a lot in the early part of the year as you're entering hurricane season. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for bearing with me as I had a couple coughs and clearing of my throat. And, God bless all y'all. Stay safe tonight. Didn't really mention the Ohio Valley, but y'all got some ongoing severe weather. But I hope you guys are staying safe out there. Stay safe tomorrow, and I'll have you an update in the morning. God bless.